What's happening, everybody? Coming to you again from Ghana. I'm here at Cape Coast, wrapping up another Maximum Impact Gateway experience. Had another great time, and make sure that you check us out here if you would like a great introduction to the continent of Africa that has the perfect balance between the traditional and the contemporary. Anyway, I wanted to talk about something that I'm seeing more and more of show up on social media feeds, which is, I think, unfortunate. And when I say unfortunate, I'm seeing it so much that it's indicative to a lot of things that I've seen in life. And so what I'm talking about is the shade that is starting to be shown towards Ghana. And let me just say this, just to be clear, I don't have a favorite African country. My whole purpose for being here is to shine light on the entire continent and all of the beauty in all of the different places, because the narratives have been so messed up in where I come from in America, that my goal is to show the positive side of wherever I visit, from Tanzania, Ethiopia, South Africa, Togo, Benin, Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, wherever, Lagos, Nigeria. So wherever I end up, that is my goal. But what I'm starting to see is something that I've seen oftentimes in my childhood when it comes to, and I'll just use color, just for lack of better terms, how black folks, when someone else is moving or making moves, the first thing that some black folks want to do is come tear them down. And so that's what I'm starting to see now with the shade that's being cast towards Ghana, where, you know, somebody say, well, what about my country? What about my country? What about this? What about that? What about, you know, what about here? What about there? And instead of being able to recognize what Ghana has done in conjunction with other elements, what they have done is at least get people to consider traveling to West Africa, where most people were not even thinking about West Africa. They were going to other parts of Africa, and not even, West Africa was not even a thought. So that's the good part about it. And I'm not talking about the government. I'm not talking about all of that. You know, I could go down that road. Let me shift my mic here, because I feel like it's poking into my neck. So what I'm seeing now is people saying, well, now these are other West African countries, or people who are representing other West African countries, talking down about Ghana. And the reality is, and anybody, most West African countries have a lot of similarities. And the last thing that anybody would want to do is to put down one West African country, because the similarities are so striking when you go. So some people say, well, don't go to Ghana because it's too expensive, it's this, it's that. One thing I realize is that, you know, whatever works for you is what works for you. It's your thing. It's your, you know, also it's your thing. Do what you want to do. So one of the reasons why I chose Ghana as kind of like a base is because I can get to every place easily. If I want to go to Freetown, I can get there easily. If I want to go to Lagos, I can get there easily. If I want to go to Addis, I can get there easily. I can get anywhere. Cairo, Joburg, you name it, I can get there. And so that was one of the reasons why I chose Ghana. Also, Ghana has a level of infrastructure that is in place that for an investor, you can come in and get in pretty easily without too much of a headache if you do it the right way. That's a whole nother conversation, a whole nother topic. But when I see people fighting over countries, and this is where it gets a little deep. When people fight over countries, you'll never hear me fight over a country, saying this country, that country is better, because all of these countries were made up by Europeans, by the colonizers. So when I say this, meaning, granted, 57, the name Ghana came about as a result of the perceived independence, but the Gold Coast and the structure, the government structure, is still a European government structure. And that's in most places you'll find it's either French, it's going to be either French, British, depending on where you are, maybe Italian some places, it may be Portuguese other places, it may be Dutch other places. But the reality is in 1885, these countries, these borders were formed. They're not indigenous borders. And basically they forced indigenous people into systems that were not indigenous to them. And so when we start fighting over countries, we're really fighting over what the quote unquote colonial master put in place. And they kind of sit back and laugh because, you know, they still make the money. They still, you know, it's really deep when you start diving into it a little bit more. So what I try to do is to celebrate all of the good parts. So let's say, for example, one of the things I love about Sierra Leone and with Sierra Leone is the beachfront. I mean, it is spectacular. You go up in those mountains and you just look over, it is some of the most beautiful landscape that you'll ever see. And the people in Sierra Leone are some of the most beautiful people that you would ever want to encounter. So there's no need to throw any shade at Sierra Leone because there's so much there to offer. It depends on what you're looking for. And so that's why, again, you won't hear me, you know, throwing shade at any countries, because one, I understand that these countries are still colonial systems, normally two-party systems, or normally structures that are in place. And if they step out of line too much, then there's going to be a coup or somebody's going to get overthrown, and that's how it is. But what I would hope for us to be able to do is to see beyond the country borders and to see beyond the same old narratives. In America, if you see a brother-sister business going, instead of trying to tear it down, build it up. You know, you might have just been too lazy to get off your behind and go out there and pay the dues that they were willing to pay, and now you throwing shade at them because they have success. And I mean, and that's what a lot of Negroes do worldwide. You know, they'll come in and they'll start tearing down people just because they just did not have the balls to go out and do what they needed to do and handle their business. And that's what I'm starting to see. And it's a lot of Americans who do that, bring that nonsense over to Africa as far as, you know, throwing shade and all of that. And it's really it's a play out of the colonizer playbook. Once again, get them fighting each other, get them focused on each other so we can continue to build all these buildings, gentrify, do what we need to do, or they'll hire one of us to go out and sell out. And I'm not even talking about old Africans selling African, that old narrative. I'm talking about people right here today selling one another out in our own cities for the dime, and they put blackface on it and try to make it seem as though it's black, but it's really white with a black face on it. So these are some of the complexities that we're dealing with, and this is why I'm so adamant. Whenever I hear this foolishness coming out, we have got to do better. We have got to now begin to think for ourselves, see for ourselves, and stop listening to these people who try to tell us how to think. That is so key. When you can put your eyes on it, I'm standing here on the beach right now, and I can smell and feel the wind and the breeze, and nobody can come and take that. But somebody would try to discourage me from coming here because they don't want me to see for myself. No, go here, go there, do this, don't do that. It's bad there, it's bad there, it's bad there, it's bad everywhere. It's bad everywhere you go. Anywhere you think you want to go, there's going to be some bad. But what about the beauty? What about the beauty? What about the people? That's what I'm talking about. And so again, either we're going to be serious about it or we're going to be playing games. One thing we have to do, and this is across the board. I mean, I even see this in different parts of Africa. And I just kind of read through the comments. And I was really disappointed that grown people were having these conversations with the level of vitriol that they were having, but they were supposed to be adults. And I'm saying, do you not understand that you're arguing over something that is not indigenous? It was created by the very systems of oppression that continue to oppress. And when we stop arguing, now I know how things must have went down back in the day, because I see it today. Some people say, well, no, it wasn't quite like that. It wasn't. I'm looking at it today. So what I see today is this arguing over these artificial borders that makes absolutely no sense, reducing to insults. And guess what? The colonial master sits back and laughs and laughs and laughs and says, look at these right here arguing once again. Let's continue to build our buildings, let's continue to take their culture, repackage it, and sell it back to them, while these here and argue. This is how they think. This is the mindset of the colonizer, and we keep falling for the tricks every single time. Well, I refuse to fall for the tricks. And so when I see it, I'm gonna call it out. That's why I'm gonna always celebrate the people. Yes, the governments, every government is corrupt. So that's just the bottom line. So you just got to take that for what it is. Corruption is going to be at every level. But when you get to be among the people, when you look in their eyes and you see the kindness in their eyes, or you see the struggle that they have, or you see the wealth that they have and the wisdom that they have, and the various experiences that you can encounter when you come to this part of the world, then you understand the mind game that has been played on us back in the States or other parts of the Western world that has us thinking that we're better, thinking that our world is superior, thinking that our level of development is the status quo and that's what everybody should aspire to have, versus coming and getting on the remnants of the indigenous level and seeing the kindness of the people. I remember and I'll give you this, in Nigeria, and this is why I love Nigeria so much. One, I blended in. I wasn't tripping on is Nigeria better than Ghana, is Nigeria better than Cameroon, and Nigeria, and is it better than such and such? That wasn't even in my mindset. I was like, wow, look at this. All these years somebody told me not to come here. All these years somebody told me this place was bad. But I come here and I'm seeing something completely different. Not to negate, because there's a level of truth in many things that people come up with, to be able to frame their stories. But I looked and I said, wow. So we got stuck. We were coming back from Badagry, and the boat was starting to have issues. And a storm was coming. I felt like I was in biblical times. The storm came, the lightning came, and I was like, wow. And so the boat, I guess the driver of the boat, it became too much for him. It was just torrents of rain, lightning and thunder everywhere. And he made a right turn and he said, I can't go any further. And we jumped off into this strange place. We didn't even know, it just looked like some structures there. Ran through a graveyard and ran up into this structure, and we didn't realize that it was somebody's house. Now we could have run up into some place and they could have been doing something shady in there and shot us and killed us and everything. Who knows? Think about running up in somebody's house in Chicago and how that might play out. Or in the backwoods of Mississippi, with some of the good old boys, and see how that might play out. But what these people did in Lagos, Nigeria, was extend hospitality on a level that I have rarely seen in my life. They didn't know who we were, the family, husband, wife, children. They got the chairs, and I mean the house, had the roof was leaking, it wasn't finished, if you will. But they extended a level of hospitality that I will never forget. And this was in Lagos, Nigeria. So when people start talking that talk and they start saying, don't go there, them people don't like us, it's bad over there, all of that kind of stuff, I have to mature my mindset to say, now maybe that's their experience and respect it as their experience. But then also to understand that I'm going to have my own experiences. And I'm not going to continue to let other people's narratives shape my narratives. And that's why I say, don't even let my narrative shape your narrative. Come see for yourself. Because then at that point, you can formulate it, and then you can take that story back and tell someone else. This is how we bridge the gap. This is how we grow up. This is how we get out of this stuff that has been played on us for over 500 years. Over 500 years, the same mind tricks have been played on people, and we keep falling for it. So you'll never hear me get on here and disparage a country. If I have an issue with a particular thing, then I may talk about that. But as far as tearing down a country, a whole group of people in a monolithic way that I have never had an encounter with, maybe had an encounter with 2 or 3 people or 10 people at most somewhere, I refuse to do that. And if I've done it in the past, then I've learned from that. And that's a part of this process of being able to become more mature. We grow up, we learn. And so those are the people that I go after, the people who want to learn, who want to grow, who want to be more mature, and who don't want to keep falling for the same tricks, crying for justice, begging for justice, but falling for the same tricks time and time again. Not even willing to acknowledge the truth and being able to go see the truth for themselves, but following behind just the last conspiracy theory that they read on the internet. Now they're running with that. And the next year they'll be running with something else. The next year they'll be following something else. And we have to do better if we're going to see any changes in these narratives. So shout out to all of the folks out there who are changing the narratives, who are telling the truth from their perspective, who are willing to travel and see things. Shout out to you, continue doing the work. And for those who maybe the hit dog got hard, maybe you realize that these are some of the ways that you were thinking and you say, I got to do better. Hey, today is the best way to start. I used to think many of the ways that I'm talking about right now 5 years ago. And when I stepped foot on this continent and I started seeing things for myself and realized that I wasn't so privileged and how deprived I was emotionally and culturally, and how culturally immature I was because I thought America was the top of the line and it was the best of the best and land of the free, home of the brave. And then I come other places and see where these people are living better in many cases, not dealing with the blatant cultural challenges, although they might have their own challenges. But you can find a place in the world that fits for you to visit. Not saying for you to have to move and leave, not saying that America's this big demon, not saying that at all, because I won't even put that in a monolithic statement. You can find some of the most wonderful, warm, loving people in America. The system may be jacked up in some garbage, but as far as the people are concerned, the people, you can find wonderful people wherever you go. So anyway, I just wanted to drop that out there because I'm seeing it more and more. And a lot of times when people do this, they're doing it because they're trying to make money or or whatever the case is. You want to be wise. You want to make sure that you go see for yourself and you can formulate your own opinion. That's all I say. Go see for yourself, formulate your own opinion. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Maximum Impact with Jay Cameron. Talk to you soon.
Open up your eyes and see all the fun and mystery. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny. From the mountains to the shore, so many things to explore. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny.
The Adventures of Darren and Destiny. And Darren and Destiny are twin brother and sister, and you go on their adventures throughout the African diaspora, meaning so African diaspora destinations, primarily focused in Africa, but we go to South America, we're going to go to the Caribbean. Their first book is going to take you to Ghana, and then we're going to go on a safari, and from there we're going to go to Ethiopia, and then we go to Salvador, Brazil. And what the goal is to be able to inspire curiosity in the continent of Africa, in our children from a very young age, and to really tell a more accurate story. Most of our children are exposed to negative images, late night infomercials about how bad things are, everybody's sick, everybody's poor, everyone's uneducated, but that's simply not true. So what Darren and Destiny and their family do is they go to different African destinations. They're learning about these different places. You're beginning to see positive images, but still telling the truth. I mean, that's the important thing, to tell the truth about some of the things that have occurred. But it's all done on our children's level so they begin to understand it. And it begins to pique their curiosity. They begin to learn more. And hopefully one day they will want to explore and visit the continent of Africa and its many countries. There's just so much that Darren and Destiny are able to do, and as they're doing it, it's like they begin to open the minds of a new generation, and they don't get bombarded and indoctrinated with negativity. They're actually able to see positivity and inspiring images and messages about the African diaspora, as well as those who are still indigenous to the continent of Africa, and they begin to learn more and just see things differently. So I'm excited about introducing the Adventures of Darren and Destiny.